Want to get straight to the meat and potatoes? A truck driver at the New York port showed a Maryland CDL and a Mexican ID. Turns out, he was a deported Salvadoran national. Now the feds are cracking down, not just on paperwork, but on your English too. New language rules kick in June 25th. This isn't a one-off. It's a warning. The U.S. government is stepping up enforcement, especially on foreign-born truck drivers. Fake licenses, double IDs, drivers who can't speak English. It's all under the microscope. Customs agents at ports in New York, Texas, Arizona, they're watching. One case lit the fire. Earlier this month, a man rolled up to a New York terminal. CDL from Maryland, Mexican ID. After a background check, turns out he was a Salvadoran national who had been deported and illegally came back. Let's zoom out for a second. That guy at the port? He's not just one bad apple. He's a sign of where things are headed for the whole industry. The Department of Transportation, Homeland Security, and FMCSA are all tightening the screws on one thing: proof that you're legal and qualified to be behind the wheel. And it's not just about paperwork anymore. Starting June 25th, 2025, there's a brand new requirement that's got a lot of truckers talking. Every CDL driver must be able to communicate in English. Not just basic stuff like hello or I deliver freight. We're talking about enough English to understand road signs, speak to law enforcement, and handle shipping paperwork. If you can't do that, you're off the road. No excuses. This rule has actually been around in some form for years, but it wasn't enforced much. That's changing, fast. Why now? Officials say it's about safety. But let's be honest, it's also about immigration. In recent months, the feds have found fake CDLs, forged IDs, and non-citizens driving without proper documentation. Some of them are using IDs from one state and green cards from another. Others? Not even supposed to be in the country at all. That's why federal agents are now cross-checking immigration databases, DMV records, and even social security numbers. And if your CDL says Texas, but you've got an address in Honduras or El Salvador, expect a knock on your cab door. They're also looking hard at non-domicile CDLs, the licenses issued to foreign nationals by U.S. states. Some states have looser standards than others. And guess what? Those states are now under review. On top of all that, the ghost of Trump's travel ban still lingers. Drivers from places like Iran, Somalia, and Venezuela may have legal visas, but that doesn't mean smooth sailing. They're being flagged, questioned, and in some cases sent home. Bottom line, if your paperwork doesn't line up, or your English falls short, you might find yourself out of the cab and off the job. Let's talk details, because this wasn't just some paperwork mistake. The man caught at the New York port is now front and center in a case that's making headlines across trucking forums. His name? Oscar Gonzalez Ramirez. He pulled into the Red Hook terminal with a standard load, nothing unusual. Security asked for documents, and that's when the red flags started piling up. First, he handed over a Maryland CDL. Looked valid. But when asked for a second form of ID, he showed a Mexican matricula consular card. That combination alone triggered a full background check by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. Within minutes, things got serious. Oscar wasn't from Mexico. He's a Salvadoran national who had been deported in 2018 after serving time on felony charges related to gang activity in Los Angeles. The kicker? He had re-entered the U.S., illegally obtained fraudulent documents, and landed a job with a small logistics outfit in New Jersey, who, so far, claims they had no idea. CBP flagged the case, and ICE agents took him into custody within 24 hours. He's now facing federal charges under 18 U.S. Code Section 1546, which deals with fraudulent immigration documents, a felony that carries up to 25 years in prison if linked to terrorism or organized crime. Investigators are now digging into how Oscar managed to get a Maryland license in the first place. Was it part of a document fraud ring? A loophole in the state's ID system? No one's saying yet. But this isn't just about one driver. Officials are now auditing the trucking company's hiring practices, checking who else they've brought on board, and whether proper E-Verify steps were followed. If the company knowingly hired undocumented workers, they could be looking at fines, license suspensions, and possibly criminal charges. This one case is snowballing, and it's already being used in internal DHS reports as a case study in border security failure. So next time someone tells you it's just paperwork, think again. In this business, bad ID doesn't just get you fired. It can get you arrested. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a sweeping trend that has trucking industry experts and federal agents sounding the alarm. According to CBP spokesperson Rick Pauza, Customs and Border Protection is stepping up enforcement at scale. They're staying busy at scales and checkpoints nationwide, cracking down on illegal practices like unfettered cabotage when foreign drivers haul loads between U.S. cities using B-1 visa status meant only for crossing the border. In South Texas alone, independent operators report they simply can't compete with companies using Mexican or Canadian drivers who stay past their visa limits and snag domestic jobs. They're being undercut on price and clearance. This isn't just rhetoric. The American Trucking Associations recently flagged the practice at conferences in Arizona and sent an open letter to DOT Secretary Sean Duffy calling for stronger action on visa misuse. Meanwhile, the government itself is reinforcing enforcement with fresh executive orders and internal directives. Just last month, the White House released a new policy mandating strict English proficiency checks and wider compliance with federal trucking safety standards, and noted that targeting unqualified drivers behind the wheel is a priority. Transportation and immigration experts warn that these rules won't just stay on paper. CBP and ICE are now coordinating border and internal checkpoints with trucking and logistics offices. Homeland Security Advisor Hadil Abu Asira says this means spot checks in fields, during stops, even at breakdowns. Expect to present a CDL, your English test pass, and immigration papers on demand. The numbers tell the story. In just the last 6 months, more than 170 truck drivers have been pulled off the job over mismatched or fake documentation, often during random inspections at domestic scale houses. Many came from Central America and Mexico. Even drivers with legal visas are now flagged frequently. One expert warned, if you're using an immigrant driver and you haven't done proper vetting, expect to face ICE audits, fines, license suspensions, even criminal charges for the company. And it's not only about drivers. In Ohio, local police are partnering more closely with Border Patrol. If you're pulled over on a minor issue, you might be asked for immigration papers too. Over 56% of arrests in a recent review started as traffic stops. All these actions paint a picture of an industry under siege, from both ends. Regulators say it's about safety and rule of law. Truckers say it's turning into a dragnet that punishes small operators, fuels shortages, and adds chaos behind the wheel. So far, the government is doubling down. More traffic stops, visa purges, English tests, audits, and executive enforcement. For anyone in trucking, especially independent drivers and smaller fleets, it's fast becoming a zero-margin game where one missing document can cost everything. What do you think about these new rules? Is it fair? Or is it just more pressure on working drivers trying to do their job? Drop your take in the comments. We read every one. And if you want more Straight Talk updates like this, hit that subscribe.